In history, two names echo as the absolute masters of war: Alexander the Great, the genius who conquered the known world, and the Roman legion, the army that built an empire to last 1,000 years. They were separated by centuries, but they're united in legend. They represent two completely different philosophies of battle. One, the lightning-fast, personally led army of Macedon. The other, the brutally efficient, systematic, and endlessly adaptable war machine of Rome. They never met on the battlefield until now. Everyone loves to ask who would win, but nobody ever shows you how the battle would actually play out. Today, that changes. We're not just comparing stats, we're simulating the clash. We will put the Macedonian hammer and anvil against Roman legionary discipline in a minute-by-minute breakdown to see whose way of war comes out on top. This is the ultimate showdown, a battle for the ages that we're bringing to life right now. Before a single spear is thrown, we have to understand the fighters. This isn't just about numbers, it's a clash of systems, of leadership, and the very spirit of the men on the field. On one side, you have a commander who many call the greatest military mind in history, Alexander the Great. His leadership wasn't just tactical, it was personal, charismatic, almost divine. Alexander led from the front, charging into the thick of it with his elite companion cavalry, a living legend who shared every risk his soldiers faced. This wasn't reckless. It was a calculated strategy. It inspired a loyalty so fierce his men believed he was favored by the gods. A man for whom defeat simply wasn't an option. They would and did follow him to the edge of the world. So who does Rome send to fight a demigod? Not one man, but a system. At its peak, a Roman army was led by a consul. This commander wasn't a divine king. He was a politician and a general, a product of Rome's rigid career path. He was experienced, disciplined, and totally dedicated to the glory of Rome. While some consuls were brilliant, we're pitting Alexander against a generic but highly competent Roman general. He might not have Alexander's unique genius, but he wields something more reliable, the Roman way of war. It's the ultimate contrast, the one-of-a-kind artist of war versus the master craftsman produced by an imperial machine. Now for the backbone of each army, the infantry. This is where the debate gets heated. First, the Macedonians. The heart of Alexander's army was the Phalanx. Picture a block of 16,000 men, 16 ranks deep, each holding the terrifying sarissa, an 18-foot pike. When the Phalanx leveled those pikes, it became a solid wall of spear points. To reach the first man, a Roman would have to get past 5 spear tips aimed at his face. The psychological effect alone was staggering. But the Phalanx had a fatal flaw. All its strength was pointed forward. It was slow, clumsy to turn, and wide open on its flanks and rear. If that perfect formation got broken by rough ground, the Phalangites, with their small shields and short swords, were in deep, deep trouble. Now, the Romans. The legion was the polar opposite. It wasn't one solid block, but a flexible, checkerboard system of units called cohorts. A peak imperial legion had about 5,000 elite heavy infantry. Their gear was a masterclass in brutal close-quarters fighting. They carried the scutum, a large curved shield that offered amazing protection and could be used to punch an enemy off balance. Their main weapon was the gladius, a short stabbing sword designed for one thing, killing quickly in the crush of a melee. But the Roman secret weapon was the pilum. Before contact, each legionary would hurl this heavy, brilliantly designed javelin. The pilum's thin iron point was made to punch through a shield and critically bend on impact. A pilum stuck in a shield was impossible to pull out mid-battle, making the shield uselessly heavy. A volley of thousands of these slamming into the front of a phalanx would be devastating, not just killing men, but shattering the cohesion of that pike wall. creating the very gaps the Romans were born to exploit. The phalanx was a rigid spear. The legion was a flexible sword. Finally, we get to the arm of decision, the cavalry. Alexander's greatest tool, the very symbol of his strategy, was the companion cavalry. These were 1,800 of the best heavy horsemen in the world, led by Alexander himself. They were the hammer to the phalanx's anvil. Their job wasn't to skirmish. It was to deliver one single, overwhelming charge to win the battle. Armed with lances and riding in a wedge formation that could punch through enemy lines, the companions were the shark troops that made Alexander's tactics famous. While the phalanx pinned the enemy, Alexander would lead the companions on a devastating ride to smash into their flank or rear, shattering their morale. The Romans, on the other hand, never put that much faith in cavalry. Their identity was always their heavy infantry. A consular army of this size might have around 3,000 horsemen, many of them auxiliaries recruited from conquered peoples, Gauls, Germans, and Numidians. Their role was vital, but supportive: protect the legion's flanks, scout, and pursue routed enemies. They were a scalpel, not a sledgehammer. The question is, could the Roman scalpel hold off Alexander's hammer long enough for the infantry to do its bloody work? The stage is set. The arguments are made. Now the drums of war begin to beat. We're on a wide, flat plain, perfect for Alexander's army. The two forces face each other across a kilometer of open ground. On one side, Alexander the Great with 40,000 men. The core is the immense block of his 16,000 phalangites. On their right, under Alexander's direct command, are the 1,800 elite companion cavalry. On the left, the heavy Thessalian cavalry holds the line. Screening the front are 8,000 light troops, javelinists, archers, and slingers. On the other side, a Roman consular army of 5 legions. That's 25,000 disciplined legionaries deployed in their classic triple battle line. Their flanks are guarded by 3,000 auxiliary cavalry and another 2,000 archers. There's no fanfare, no cheering, just the grim, silent efficiency of Rome at war. The battle starts not with a crash, but with a storm of missiles. Alexander's 8,000 skirmishers surge forward to harass and disrupt the Roman line. Javelins and sling bullets fill the air. The Romans don't even flinch. The command is given, and the front ranks raise their massive shields, weathering the storm with practiced discipline. Then the reply: Roman archers step between the cohorts and let loose. But the real answer comes from the legionaries. Pila. With a single brutal motion, the front ranks of the legions hurl their heavy javelins. Thousands of pila arc through the sky, flying over the skirmishers and slamming into their real target, the advancing phalanx. The iron points punch through shields and bend, making them impossibly heavy and awkward. The perfect wall of pikes is already compromised. The first blow belongs to Rome. Now comes the moment of truth. The Macedonian phalanx, 16,000 strong, moves forward. A terrifying, majestic wall of death gliding across the plain. The Roman consul watches, his face a mask of calm. His skirmishers filter back through the gaps in the line. The front line, the hastati, braces for impact. The collision is apocalyptic. The first Romans are skewered on Sarissa, points before they can even draw their swords. The phalanx's momentum is immense, and it starts pushing the Roman center back. It looks unstoppable, but this is exactly what the Roman system was built for. As the front ranks tire, they execute a maneuver of breathtaking discipline, falling back through the gaps as the princeps, the veteran legionaries, step forward to take their place. It's like fighting a shark with endless rows of teeth. The phalanx, a single entity, is fighting a relentless machine that keeps feeding fresh men into the grinder. The Macedonian advance slows, then stalls. The anvil is set. From his spot on the right wing, Alexander sees it all. The center is locked. His phalanx is pinning the Roman infantry. This is his moment. He turns to his companions. No speech needed, just a look, and the lowering of lances. Alexander leads his 1,800 elites in his signature oblique attack, wheeling right to draw the Roman auxiliary cavalry out. The Roman cavalry commander does his job and moves to intercept, but he's facing the best cavalry in the world, led by the best commander in history. The fight is short and savage. The companions' wedge formation smashes the Roman horsemen, scattering them from the field. A huge gap is now torn open on the Roman left flank. The way is clear. The hammer is raised, poised to strike. This is the moment the battle hinges on. Alexander wheels his companions left, aiming for the exposed flank and rear of the Roman legions. This is the hammer striking the anvil. Against any other army, this would be the battle-winning blow. But this is not any other army. This is the Roman legion. What happens next is not a panicked rout. It's a display of the discipline that conquered the known world. The Roman consul has drilled his men for this. Horns blast, and the rearmost ranks, the triarii, the grizzled old veterans, execute a perfect turn to face the new threat. The companion cavalry, expecting to hit a soft target, instead smashes into a fresh wall of shields and waiting swords. At the same time, something incredible happens at the front. Roman centurions, acting on their own initiative, spot the small gaps that have appeared in the long pike wall. They order their men forward. Small groups of legionaries pour into the openings. They're inside the forest of pikes. And in here, the 18-foot sarissa is useless. It's too long to fight with. The phalangites drop their pikes for their short swords, but they are completely outmatched. The legionary smashes his opponent's small shield aside with his own, stabs with the gladius, pulls it out, and steps over the body to the next man. Multiplied by hundreds, then thousands, the Roman legionaries begin to systematically and horrifically dismantle the Macedonian phalanx from the inside out. The battle is now broken. In the rear, Alexander and his companions are bogged down, their charge absorbed by the Roman veterans. In the center, the phalanx is dying. What was once a solid wall of spears is now a series of desperate, disconnected brawls. The phalangites, seeing their legendary formation shattered, finally break and run. The Roman consul unleashes his cavalry to pursue the fleeing Macedonians. The slaughter is immense. Alexander, seeing his army disintegrate, knows the day is lost. His genius and the power of his charge weren't enough. He has no choice but to retreat with the bloodied remnants of his companions, leaving his army to be cut down. The Roman system didn't just bend. It held, adapted, and then utterly broke its enemy. So, who wins this clash of titans? Based on this simulation, even on ground that favored Alexander, the victory goes to the Roman legion. Why? The answer comes down to three key things. First, the pilum. That simple throwing spear was the perfect tool to disrupt the phalanx before the real fight even started. Second, flexibility and initiative. The Roman cohort system allowed it to react to a crisis in a way the monolithic phalanx couldn't. When the hammer blow came, Roman officers on the ground had the training and authority to react instantly without waiting for orders. The legion was an army of thinking parts. And third, most importantly, discipline. Any other army in the ancient world would have broken when charged in the rear. The Romans just turned, planted their feet, and fought. Of course, this is a simulation, but history gives us a clue. In the generations after Alexander, Roman legions met and defeated Macedonian-style phalanxes at the battles of Sunnocephaly and Pydna. In both cases, the Romans used their flexibility to get inside the sarissa wall and let the gladius do its gruesome work. While Alexander himself was a force of nature who might have found a way to win, our simulation shows that his system of war the hammer and anvil, was perfectly designed to beat the big, rigid armies of Persia. It was not, however, suited to defeating the flexible, disciplined, and brutally efficient legions of Rome.